Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Samsaradava Nalalida Loka Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyanam Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Praptasya Kalyanam Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Manchakampasru Taranga Bhaju Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shri Vigrara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Niramajanado Jukta Savaktam Sa Niyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasadam Satvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasadam Kritvaiva Tripte Vajato Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Radhikama Dabayara Para Madhurya Lila Punarupanamna Pratikshanasva Dhanalolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Ne Kunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Vir Joktir Apekshaneya Tatrati daksha Ativalabhasa Vande Gurashi Charanarabindu Sakshadhari Tvena Shamasta Shashri Ruktastathava Tataiva Sadhavi Sakshadhari Intu Pravorja Priyaiva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravindu Intu Pravorja Priyaiva Tasya Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Jayam Stuvam Tasyam Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Gurushi Charanarabindam Vande Gurushi Charanarabindam Vande Gurushi Charanarabindam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nibishesha Shunnavari Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Gaur Nityananda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Yaraya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govindaram Shrimadhusudam Giridhari Gopina Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Prabhupada Acharya Ashtottara Sarashishi Maharaj Divine Grace Abhacharvina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Siramani Parit Bhavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Shri Gaurya Guru Varga Patitu Udhar Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Satgos Swami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Kuri Vaishnavrind Ki Jai Prem Si Koho Si Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrind Ki Jai Jai Param Dayal Se Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Jai Prema Nama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandan Shman Gauranga Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaura Hari Mahavrinaya Avatar Ki Jai Golokera Pramadhan Harinama Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai Juga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihat Nidanga Transcendental Bhakti Shri Seva Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopna Radha Kun Syamakun Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brajabhumi Vrindavan Mathur Dham Ki Jai The Lordship Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai श्री श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्र धाम की जय। परम करुण श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम चित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कर सिंहरे भगवान की जय। सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जी की जय। जगंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। तुलसी महारानी प्रिय देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर हरि प्रेमानंदे हरि। All glories to the Assembly bodies. All glories to the Assembly bodies. All glories to the Assembly bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namaste Nadase Naya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada da da da. Silatangkana kalahin Silatangkana kalahin Ito nisinggo parato nisinggo Jato jato jame tato nisingo Jato jato jame tato nisingo Bairi nisingo Rudaye nisingo Singo, Rudayeni Singo. Narasingha Madhimi Sharanam Prapade. Tavakara Kamala Vare Naka Advaita Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanovinga Kesavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Jagadisha Re Tavakara Kamala Vare Naka Advaita Singha Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanavinga Kesavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Druta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Jaya Nishingare Jaya Nishingare Nishingare Jaya Nishingare Jaya Nishingare Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jai Shri Bhakti Pada Sarabhigna Sanakani Singare Bhagavan ki Jai Bhakta Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai Gaura Pramanande Haribo Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namah Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namah Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namah Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Radha Krishna Seva Prava Eyobi Nasi Radha Krishna Radha Krishna Seva Prava Eyobi sada jugala rupala ase.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi. Shri Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has wishes fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavadam of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your honored servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise, may I always swim in love with Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi ki jai.
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life with reputed birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, for it spreads the rays of the benediction moment. It is the light of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss And now, O last fully test the nectar for which you're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. It is not even hard and fast rule for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself a Lord and straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. He should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of the mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I am fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? Or will my voice choke up? And will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything. For he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shri Shikyastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that must be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blaspheme bodies who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures of pursuance of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some end to quotation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activity karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person by the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It's also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our respectful obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas devoted to the Lord. They are just like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Janmadhyasya yato nivayad yataratas charte suryasyasvarat.
Janmadhyasya yatam vayari taratas charte suryasyasvarat.
Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaya Ye muyanti yatsuraya.
Dine Brahmaridaya Adikavaye Mojantuja Surya.
Tejo varimadam yata vinimayo yatra trisargumisha.
Tejo Varimridan Jata Vinimayo Jatra Trisargamisya.
Damna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dimahi.
Damna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi.
O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva,
O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva,
O all-pervading personality of Godhead,
O all-pervading personality of Godhead,
offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth,
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because He is the absolute truth,
and the primeval cause of all causes,
the primeval cause of all causes,
of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested
of
universes.
the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all
He is
manifestations,
directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him.
And He is independent because there is no other cause beyond Him.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji,
It's the only who first imparted Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahma,
the original living being.
the original living being.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
By Him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
As one is bewildered by the illusory
As
representations
one bewildered by the illusory representation
of water seen on fire or land seen on water.
of the waters in the fire, lands in the water.
Only because of him do the material universes,
Only because of Him do the material universe,
temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the action of three modes of
appear factual although they are unreal.
appear factual.
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
Meditate upon Him, Lord Shri Krishna,
who is eternally existent in a transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent, is transcendental,
which is forever free from the illusory representations of the
which is
material world.
forever free from illusory representation.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
I meditate upon Him for His
Dharma pujita kaitruvocha,
Dharma Prujita Kaitavutta,
paramo nirmatsranam satam,
Paramo Nivasana,
vedyam vastavam atra vastu,
Yam Vastavamata,
shivadam tapatrayon mulanam. Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite,
Shman Bhagavate Mahamani,
Kim va purer Ishwaraha,
Vaparishvara,
Sadyo Hridi Avarudyate Tra,
Sadyurudya Varudyate,
Kriti Bihi Sususabis Takshanad.
Kritubhi Shushu Vistakana,
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
completely rejecting all religious activities which are material motivated.
This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavad Puran propounds the high
which
truth,
is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in
The
heart.
highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
The higher truth, the reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
Such truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Such a truth uproots the threefold misery.
This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity,
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva is mature.
is sufficient in itself for God realization.
Sufficient itself for God realization.
What is the need of any other scripture?
What is the need of the other scripture?
As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
As soon as one attentively, submissively hears the message
by this culture of knowledge,
by this culture,
the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam,
Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam,
sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam,
Sukhamukad amrita drava samyutam,
pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam,
Vivata bhagavatam rasamaya,
muhur ahoraska bhuvibhavakaha.
Mora horasika bhuvivada.
O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam.
O expert thoughtful men, relish Shrimad Bhagavatam.
The mature fruit of the desire to Vedic literatures.
Mature for the desire to Vedic
It
literature.
emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
Emanating from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this food has become even more
Although its nectarine juice was already relishable for all,
although its nectar just wasn't relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including liberated souls.
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Samvatam Swakata Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Hiryantaksto Hi Badrani,
Pridyantastu Yabhadra,
Vidunoti Suhit Satam.
Yunoti Surisata,
To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures,
Yama Krishna Vedic literature,
or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from directly
is itself righteous activity.
from righteous.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for who hears about
Lord Krishna is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna dwelling within everyone's
acts as a best wishing friend,
acts as the best person
and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him.
and Purify the devotees constantly in hearing of him.
Nastapresu Bhadirisu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistake. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge.
In this way, the devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental
As he hears more about, as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam,
as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam,
and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
he becomes fixed in devotional service.
Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayas chaye chita eta eranavidam stitvam sattve prasidati. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. Evam prasana manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Vidyate Hridaya Grantis Chidyante Sarvasamsaya Siyante Jasya Karmani Drista Evat Manishware. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram, understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text number 17. Abhyasin manasa sudham Trivrit brahmaksharam param Mano yachej Jita swaso Brahma bijam avishmaran. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. After sitting in the above manner, make the mind remember the three transcendental letters Aum, and by regulating the breathing process, control the mind so as not to forget the transcendental seed. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Omkara, or the pranava, is the seed of transcendental realization, and it is composed of the three transcendental letters Aum, or Om. By its chanting by the mind in conjunction with the breathing process, which is a transcendental but mechanical way of getting into trance, as devised by the experience of great mystics, one is able to bring the mind, which is materially absorbed, under control. This is the way of changing the habit of the mind. The mind is not to be killed. Mind or desire cannot be stopped, but to develop a desire to function for spiritual realization, the quality of engagement by the mind has to be changed. The mind is the pivot of the active sense organs, and as such, if the quality of thinking, feeling, and willing is changed, naturally the quality of actions by the instrumental senses will also change. Omkara is the seed of all transcendental sound, and it is only the transcendental sound which can bring about the desired change of the mind and the senses. Even a mentally deranged man can be cured by treatment of transcendental sounds. In the Bhagavad Gita, the pranava Omkara has been accepted as the direct, literal representation of the supreme absolute truth. One who is not able to chant directly the holy name of the Lord as recommended above can easily chant the pranava, Omkara. This Omkara is a note of address, such as, O my Lord, just as Om Hari Om means, O my Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we have explained before, the Lord's holy name is identical with the Lord himself. So also is Omkara. But persons who are unable to realize the transcendental personal form or name of the Lord on account of their imperfect senses, in other words, the neophytes, are trained to the practice of self-realization by this mechanical process of regulating the breathing function and simultaneously repeating the pranava Omkara within the mind. As we have several times expressed, since the transcendental name, form, and attributes, pastimes, etc. of the personality of Godhead are impossible to understand with the present material senses, it is necessary that through the mind, the center of sensual activities, such transcendental realizations be set into motion. The devotees directly fix their minds on the person of the Absolute Truth, but one who is unable to accommodate such personal features of the Absolute is disciplined in impersonality to train the mind to make further progress. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After sitting in the above manner, make the mind remember the three transcendental letters Aum, and by regulating the breathing process, control the mind so as not to forget the transcendental seed. So one time in London, Prabhupada met the, I think it was the ambassador of India for England. And they had a discussion. In fact, I think there's a video, or there's definitely a photo of it, and there's the transcript of their discussion. And at one point, the ambassador keeps talking about the importance of saying Om. And Prabhupada, I guess, became a little bit dissatisfied with his insistence on saying and he said that people who don't have any appreciation for Krishna prefer to say Om. And the guy got shocked. He said, no, I mean, Om, how do you Om? Om, Krishna, Om. Krishna, there's nothing wrong with saying Om. And Prabhupada said, no, there's nothing wrong with it. But because you don't like the personality of Godhead, you say Om, not Krishna. So he got the ambassador really flustered when he said that. But Prabhupada was right. And here, again, he's saying very correctly, he says that persons who are unable to realize the transcendental personal form or name of the Lord on account of their imperfect senses, in other words, the neophytes, are trained to the practice of self-realization by this mechanical process of regulating the breathing function and simultaneously repeating the pranava Omkara within the mind. As we have several times expressed, since the transcendental name, form, attributes, pastimes, etc. of the personality of Godhead are impossible to understand with the present material senses, it is necessary that through the mind, the center of sensual activities, such transcendental realization be set into motion. In other words, the incipient stage, the beginning stage. So you can take this mechanical process of regulating the breathing and repeating the pranava Omkara. And the devotees directly fix their minds on the person of the Absolute Truth. So the people who don't want to fix their mind on the person of the Absolute Truth, they have a certain, let's say, reluctance to accept that God is a person because their mind has been contaminated by Mayavad philosophy. And this is just a reflection of the original reason why people left Krishna and came to the material world, to become a little Krishna. It's because they became envious of the Lord. And one aspect of that enviousness is the reluctance to say the name of the Lord or accept that the Lord is an eternal person and the source of everything, including all the first chapter of Vyuha, and the Narayana, and the second chapter of Vyuha, and all the different incarnations, and the material world, etc. They don't want to accept this. Therefore, they prefer to say Om, which refers to the impersonal, in their mind, it refers to impersonal Brahmajyoti. However, the real meaning of Om is given by Srila Prabhupada, and in which, first of all, there's a whole discussion about Om Tat Sat and Pranava Omkara in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and also teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 20, the last paragraph of that chapter, there's a clear delineation of what is Om. It has these three letters, A-U-M. A refers to Krishna, the Supreme Truth. U refers to Radharani, which is pure service, and M refers to the living entity who engages in the eternal service of the Supreme Lord. That's the real meaning of Om. And in the renunciation through wisdom, page 18, Prabhupada says, Lord Vishnu is the supreme shelter of everything. All demigods are constantly meditating on him. Demigods consider Lord Vishnu's lotus feet their supreme destination, and they become liberated by performing all activities for his pleasure. One who wants release from the vicious karmic cycle must have Lord Vishnu's lotus feet as his final objective. Otherwise, he will have to become demoniac. So, therefore, in the Rig Veda it says, Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Sadapasyanti Surayo Divivacha Atatam Tat Pripasno Vipanyavo. In other words, that the ultimate destination of all the demigods are the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. That's the supreme destination. In other words, this is Rig Veda 1:22-20. The lotus feet of Vishnu are the supreme devotional platform. And the performance of everything on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead assures the perfection of all activity. And so this is chapter 17, Bhagavad Gita, text 24. So then there's an explanation of Om Tat Sat. So Om refers, shows what is the goal of or what should be the goal of everyone. Just like it says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitam Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Sastvatam Divyam, Adidevam Ajam Vibhu. In other words, 10th chapter, verse number 12. Param Brahma means Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param Dhamma means Krishna is the supreme destination for all living entities, going back to Godhead, or going back to Krishna. So, therefore, this Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam means that the goal of all the demigods is to surrender at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu and serve the Lord. So that's the meaning of Om. And it's all about Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the supreme destination for all living entities. And then Tat means that one should become free of all material desires. That doesn't mean one should become free of desires. One should become free of all material desires. And just like in the second chapter, verse 71, Viha kamam yasarvam pumam charati nispraha nirmama nirahankara sasantim adigachati. This is a very important verse. We've gone over it before. I'll repeat it again. So it says, Vihaya kamam yasarvam. That means that a person has to give up all desires for sense gratification. Vihaya kamam yasarvam pumam charati nispraha. And one should be free from all such desires. And therefore, nirmama, and one should be free of the sense of proprietorship. Nirahankara, and one should be devoid of false ego. Sasantimadikachatis. Only then can one attain real peace. So this is a very nice verse. It's all about desirelessness. And to become desireless means not to desire anything for sense gratification. In other words, desiring to become Krishna conscious is actually desirelessness. The desire to become Krishna conscious is actually desirelessness. To understand one's actual position as the eternal servitor of Krishna without falsely claiming this material body to be oneself and without falsely claiming proprietorship over anything in the world is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. One who is situated in this perfect stage knows that because Krishna is the proprietor of everything, everything must be used for the satisfaction of Krishna. Arjuna did not want to fight for his own sense satisfaction. So he did not want to fight because he was attached to his own sense gratification. That is, to be able to, if he was going to fight in a battle, most of all the other battles he ever fought, after victory, he showed it off to his family members and his relatives, and they were proud of him, of his prowess. But here, in the Battle of Kurukshetra, killing his own family members, he wouldn't have anyone to show it off to, or to get satisfaction from sharing his victory. It would be a lose-lose situation. It's not a win-lose situation. Either his family, immediate family, would die, or his extended family would die, or both. So, therefore, he didn't want to fight. So that was a selfish desire. Although he tried to hide it by speaking about morality and ethics and not being violent and blah blah blah. Just like the great champion of nonviolence, Gandhi, he caused tremendous violence by his inactions. There were even while India was still one country, including what later on became Pakistan, there were riots where Muslims were killing Hindus in Bengal. And he went there to pray and to fast. And because of his stature, because there was some respect for him, the massacre stopped. Of course, a lot of people were dead, but the massacre stopped. But then they started in Punjab and Delhi, and he went there, and they didn't stop. And eventually he was assassinated. So much for nonviolence. If you're going to be a politician, you can't be a coward. You have to be willing at certain points to fight, to be violent. Because politics never succeed without violence. That's a thing that you have to understand. Just like during the election cycle here in the United States, there were riots going on in major cities. Not everywhere, but in the major cities. That's violence, right? Some people got killed. A lot of buildings were burned down. And some of them are still rioting, even in Portland, and there were riots in Seattle. So, Politics do not succeed without violence. But there shouldn't be unnecessary violence. Usually, like the Bolshevik takeover of Russia, it was very violent, right? And then Pol Pot in Cambodia is extremely violent. And then Mao Zedong defeat of Chiang Kai-shek was extremely violent in China. So Gandhi, when he presented himself as a sadhu politician, was a total failure because his nonviolence caused the death of almost 1 million Hindus. And there was death of Muslims also, not as many as the Hindus. Okay, so then Tat, Om, we understand, means surrendering completely to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Then Tat means Radharani, and that is, one should not have any material desire, but can be full of all kinds of desires to please Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita 17:25 says, without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifice, penance, and charity with the word tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement. So if we act only for the pleasure of Krishna under the orders of the spiritual master, we become free of material entanglement. But if we act for selfish reasons, we become more and more entangled. And that's the condition of Radharani. She has only desires to please Krishna. She has no material desires. And then Om Tat Sat. Sat means the living entity. And in the 17th chapter, 26th, 27th verse explains, the absolute truth is the objective of devotional service. That means Om. And it is indicated in the word Sat. That is, the purpose of the living entity is to engage in the eternal service of the absolute truth, or Krishna. The performer of such sacrifice is called Sat, as are all works of sacrifice, penance, and charity. Okay, then, which, true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme Person, O Son of Prita. So let's clear up the difference between tapasya and the word tapasya and yajna. Okay, so yajna is a sacrifice, and tapasya is often translated in certain circumstances as penance or austerity. So the difference between penance and austerity, and this is a question of the English language now. Penance means you commit a sin and you receive something to do to nullify the reaction of the sin. That's a penance, right? Penance is voluntary self-punishment of repentance for having done wrong. Okay? Now, austerity means, again, you voluntarily deny yourself things, not because you did anything wrong, but because you want to gain control of your mind and the senses. And this is on the level of thinking, feeling, and willing. One wants to purify the thinking, the feeling, and the willing, to only thinking, feeling, willing to please Krishna. Whereas the materialist only thinks, feels, and wills to satisfy his own sense gratification. So the yogi tries to do this mechanically by controlling the breathing and having certain postures and meditating silently on Om or Om Tat Sat. And the devotee does it by chanting Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, and engaging wholeheartedly in devotional service and offering the result, all the result, to Krishna. So we see that this is the real meaning of Om Tat Sat. And therefore in the purport to 25 and 26 and 27 says, the words prasaste karmani, or prescribed duties, indicate that there are many activities prescribed in Vedic literature which are purificatory processes, beginning from the time of conception up to the end of one's life. So they're talking about the samskaras. Such purificatory processes are adopted for the ultimate liberation of the living entity. In all such activities, it is recommended that one vibrate Om Tat Sat. The words Sadbhave and Sadhubhave indicate the transcendental situation. Acting in Krishna consciousness is called Sattva, and one who is fully conscious of the activities of Krishna consciousness is called Sadhu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25, it is said that the transcendental subject matter becomes clear in the association of the devotees. In other words, the purpose of life becomes clear when you associate with genuine devotees. The words used are satam prasangat. Without good association, one cannot achieve transcendental knowledge. Very important point. Without good association, one cannot achieve transcendental knowledge. When initiating a person or offering the sacred thread, one vibrates the words Om Tat Sat. Similarly, in all kinds of performance of yajna, the object is the supreme, Om Tat Sat. The word Tad Artiyam further means offering service to anything that represents the supreme, including such service as cooking and helping in the Lord's temple, or any other kind of work for broadcasting the glories of the Lord. These supreme words, Om Tat Sat, are thus used in many ways to perfect all activities and make everything complete. So rather than being impersonal, it's actually Om Tat Sat is personal if you hear the explanation of the Vaishnavas. And if you hear the explanation of the Mayavadis, who have a disdain for the personality of Krishna and who want to have a, what you call, radical solution to suffering. Just like a man went to a dentist and he said, "Oh, doc, my tooth hurts so bad. Do something so I'd never have another toothache the rest of my life." He said, "Oh, you don't want to ever have a toothache again?" He said, "No, do something that I'll never have another toothache." So the doctor went and got his electric saw and sawed off his neck. That way he'll never have another toothache. But that's not, well, for most people, that's not an acceptable solution, right? But that's what Mayavad philosophy is. They want to annihilate their individuality and merge into some indefinite thing that they believe is called the Brahman. Little do they know that the Brahman is made of infinite number of jivas, who are sparks, or you call it spirit sparks. Anyway, the real understanding of Om is the explanation given by Prabhupada in the Vaishnavas and Lord Chaitanya. However, one time in France, I discovered that a Grand Master of the Rosicrucian organization lived near our temple, which was in a suburb of Paris at that time. And I met this one person who was a Rosicrucian, and he came to our temple once or twice, and that's how I met him. And in discussions with him, when he told me that this Grand Master lived not far away from the temple, I said, "Well, do you ever go and see him?" He said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Can you take me? I'd like to meet him." He said, sure, I'll ask him first, and if he was willing to see you, you can come. So he asked, and the master said yes. Now, the Rosicrucians are an international organization. You can look them up on the internet. And they believe in a mixture of some Vedic things and some biblical things. It's a big hodgepodge. So when I went there, first of all, the house itself looked very, let's say, mysterious. It was it's in the neighborhood where our temple was, but it was an old house built in the style of the 19th century, and it had a black metal gate and fence around it, and there were a lot of trees, and it looked old. It looked something that was haunted. Let's put it like that. Even though we went during the day, but it looked really strange. So he had to ring a bell, and then the Grand Master came out of the house, but from the back door, and he came around and opened the gate, and the gate made some noise like that, like it doesn't open very much, and and he let us in, and he looked strange too. He looked, he was older, and he had disheveled hair, and he had these fast-moving eyes, and anyway, it was strange. So we go inside, and we get inside, and everything's old, right, and antique, and you could tell that it's been there for maybe hundreds of years. And then we sit down, and then his disciple starts talking to him in a very animated way, and starts discussing Om, because they chant Om. And then he asks him if he can get a personal training in chanting Om. So, and it's all going on in French, and they speak really fast. But anyway, so they decide to go upstairs, and they leave me alone downstairs, and then they start practicing Om. He says, Om, Om, different ways of saying Om, right? I thought it was really strange, but they're saying something that's Vedic, right? So this Rosicrucian is a mixture of some Vedas, some Bible, some this, some that, all hodgepodge stuff. But while I was sitting downstairs, the master had this some kind of an instrument on the wall. It's sort of like a kaleidoscope, and it's like circles turning, and when you look at it, you sort of get a little bit hypnotized, and the circles keep going, seem like they're going inside, right, and infinitely. So, and they asked me to look at that while they were upstairs. So I looked at it a little bit, and then I realized it was like, taking my mind away, so I stopped looking at it, right? So, this is what they do. They have all these crazy things that sort of play games with the mind, right? So afterwards, the master came down, and I had seen books that this guy had written. They're in all the libraries and the bookstores in Paris. And now I was meeting him, but I was not impressed at all by this guy. I mean, he was a trickster. He had these little gimmicks, and it was not at all inspiring spiritually. But this other person, this disciple, he was super inspired, right? But it just shows you how deviant things become when they borrow things from the Vedas without having a bona fide guru, and then they speculate and make a hodgepodge mishmash of different traditions and come up with a so-called new spiritual movement. Well, the Rosicrucians have been around a long time, maybe 400 or 500 years, but the whole thing is just a mixture of different traditions that they put together in a certain way. Okay, so unless we hear about the Vedic knowledge from bona fide authorities, this is what's going to happen. And unless we have good association, Prabhupada says, without good association, one cannot achieve transcendental knowledge. And this regular hearing and chanting, and especially meditating on this verse, which is homework for tomorrow. You read this verse, third chapter. 1 second, let me just get that. Third chapter, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, 25th verse. 3:25-25. And this says, Satam prasangat mama virya samido bhavanti hit karna rasayana kata taj joshanad asva pavarga vartmani shadaratir bhakti anukramisyati. It's a very important verse. And it says, this is 3:25-25, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. And thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So this is your homework for tomorrow. Read this verse, and it's a long purport, not too long, maybe a page and a half. But it explains the process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service. That's why this is such an important verse. Okay, we'll stop right there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Was there homework from yesterday? No.
Not yesterday, but
Day before. Yeah. Did you do it? Yeah, you did it, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, come read what you did.
The homework was study Bhagavad Gita 9:27 and 9:28, and second homework was learn what is discretion is better part of valor means, and third homework was study Bhagavad Gita 250. So the meaning of discretion is better part of valor means
Discretion, not discretion.
Okay.
Discretion.
Yeah, discretion is better part of valor means caution is better than bravery. One must use
Means
bravery.
what?
Caution,
Caution is better than
bravery.
bravery. Okay.
One must use bravery when it is absolutely needed. So bravery doesn't
Absolutely what?
needed.
Needed. Okay.
Yeah. So one must use bravery when it is absolutely needed. So bravery doesn't mean rushing to fight at the first given opportunity. One should discriminate first. And Bhagavad Gita 250 explains in brief, the art of work is how to get free from karmic reactions, good or bad, but freedom from bondage, karma, is simply a byproduct of devotional service. And study of Bhagavad Gita 9:27 explains, Srila Prabhupada explains, that everyone has to eat, but we should offer to Krishna first. Everyone needs to work, offer that work to Krishna, and similarly, everyone has tendency to give some charity. We should give it to Krishna in a Krishna conscious services. Everyone, and the fourth one is everyone needs to do austerity of mind, which is meditation, chanting Hare Krishna. And study of Bhagavad Gita 9:28 verse explains the essence is the principle of renunciation is explained in this verse. Real renunciation is not giving up work. Rather, we should work for Krishna, that is real renunciation. Such work is free from auspicious or inauspicious results, and one becomes liberated and comes to Krishna, or returns to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Rupa Goswami's definition of Yukta Vairagya, which literally means renunciation through application in the service of Krishna.
Very good. Thank you. Haribol. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.